Hello, this is Chartered Accountant Omkar Gadgil. So, friends, as we are anticipating a change in rate of tax that is going to soon come up as announced by our Honorable Prime Minister. Now, actually speaking, on 3rd and 4th of September 2025, we are going to have this GST Council meeting. And in this GST Council meeting, as such, actually, the rate change will be effectively discussed. Thereafter, it will be notified. So, first and foremost thing on 3rd and 4th of September, immediately, most likely on 5th of September, there is not going to be any rate change. Yes, there will be notifications which can or may be issued. However, the rate change will be given some breather in order to facilitate the taxpayers to first make relevant changes in the rate of taxes in their softwares, in their systems. Friends, how does this really affect one when there is a change in the rate of tax? What is going to happen to your business if at all there is a change in effective rate of tax? We are just going to discuss that limited portion in this video. In this provisions of section 14 of the CGST Act that particularly deals with what happens when there is a change in effective rate of tax. There are only two vertical scenarios. We are going to discuss both of them one by one. First, in case the goods or services or both have been supplied before the change in effective rate of tax, then where the invoice has been issued after the payment, when the invoice has been issued as well as the payment has been received after the change of rate of tax date, the time of supply shall be the date of issuance of invoice or date of payment, whichever is earlier. So friends, let's suppose that 20th September 2025 is the date from which the new rate of tax would be applicable. Now, if your supply has taken place before 20th of September, but the invoice and the payment is happening after 20th of September, then whichever is the date coming after 20th of September, that is invoice date or payment date, whichever is earlier, will be the time of supply. That means that since the time of supply is falling after the change in effective rate, the new rate of tax will be applicable in such case. Second, where the invoice has been issued prior to the change in effective rate of tax, but the payment is received after the change in effective rate of tax, the time of supply shall be the date of issuance of invoice, meaning thereby, if the date of change of rate is 20th September, the supply was made before 20th September, the invoice was issued before 20th September, but only the payment for this transaction has been received after 20th of September, then the time of supply shall be the date of invoice. That means before the change in effective rate of tax, and the old rate of tax will be applicable in such case. Third category, where the payment has been received before the change in effective rate of tax, but the invoice was issued after the change in effective rate of tax. In such case, the supply of goods before change, payment received before change, 20th September, the change in the rate of tax takes place, and the invoice is issued after 20th of September 2025. In such case, the date of payment is considered to be the time of supply, and therefore the old rate of tax shall be applicable in this case. Friends, let's see the other scenario. In case the goods or services or both have been supplied after the change in effective rate of tax, means let's say that the supply takes place after the change in effective rate of tax, but where the payment is received after the change in effective rate of tax and the invoice has been issued prior to the change in effective rate of tax, the time of supply shall be the date of receipt of payment. Now what is happening? 20th September, the rate of change takes place, the payment is received after change, the supply is made after change, only the invoice was issued before the change in effective rate of tax. In such case, the date of payment has been considered as the rate time of supply, and in such case, since the payment date is occurring after the change, the new rate of tax will be applicable in such case. Next, where the invoice has been issued and the payment is received before change in effective rate of tax, but the supply has been made after the change in effective rate of tax, then the date of invoice or the date of payment, whichever is earlier, shall be the time of supply. Means if 20th September our rate of tax changes, supply is made after 20th September, but the invoice as well as payment took place before 20th of September, then whichever date is earlier, that becomes the time of supply of invoice or payment, and that means the old rate of tax will be applicable. where the invoice has been issued after the change in effective rate of tax, but the payment was received before change in effective rate of tax, the time of supply shall be the date of invoice. Now what is happening? 20th September, rate of tax changes, the supply is made after the change, invoice is issued after the change, only the payment was received before the change in effective rate of tax. The time of supply in this case is the date of invoice, that means the new rate of tax will be applicable. Friends, when we say the date of payment, it means the date on which the credit in bank account happens, or 4 working, I mean, is after the, if such credit in the bank account is after 4 working days from the date of change of rate of tax. This is just an addendum. Primarily, what they mean is that if supply is made before change and supply is made after change, this provision, section 14, becomes very, very important for all of us to refer when the changes will be announced. The GST Council is expected to make big changes, big decisions. Everybody is geared up. But trust me that it is not just going to happen overnight in every case. There might be some cases where the changes might be immediate, where the notifications might roll out very soon after the meetings, and in some of the cases it will be deferred around by 10 to 15 days. But the new rates need to be adopted in the system, the supplies need to be made accordingly, and most importantly, there cannot be an excuse that we made the supply with the old rate or we made the supply of service with the old rates, because the changes will be effective from a notified date and time. So friends, I hope this makes it clear. Thank you so much for your patient listening. Jai Hind, take care.